Hello, this is Matthew First, Senior Technical Trainer at the Computer Workshop. And in this video, I'm going to try and answer a common question I get in most of my programming classes. It's how do I send an email via code? So in this video, I'm going to give you a demonstration of how to do this using Python as the programming language. Before you begin coding, you're going to need to talk to your infrastructure administrator or email administrator, depending on what you have in your organization. And you're going to need to gather a little bit of information. First, you're going to need to know the name of an SMTP server. So usually it's going to be a fully qualified domain name, usually smtp.mycompany.com, mail.mycompany.com, or some form of that. Either that or the email administrator may give you an IP address that you would need to use. Second thing that you're going to need to know is what port the SMTP server is listening on. Traditionally, it's either going to be port 25 or 587, but there are other ports that may be used. Again, talk to your email administrator. They should be able to give you this information. Last thing we're going to need is your username and password if the SMTP server requires you to log on, which most of them are going to require a logon. So your username is usually going to be your email address. And then obviously your password would be the password that corresponds with you logging in through Outlook or webmail to get to your mail server. Again, all of this can be provided by your email administrator. Okay, one issue with these scripts is we're going to need to include the password in our script. So we can either put it in the script, which is usually not recommended, or we could prompt for the script. But one of the things that we could do is out in the packages in pypi.org, there is a package called Keyring. What the Keyring package allows you to do is store passwords in your backend keyrings. So like, for instance, if you're using Windows, we can use the credential locker that's built into Windows. And that's what I'm going to use in my code. So what I did is I did a pip install of Keyring, and the Keyring service has two methods, set password and get password. So first thing you'll do, and you can do this through a command line, is you'll go out, create an account in your Keyring, and then when we now need that password, we can just make a call to the get password. This will go out to that credential locker and pull back the password from the Keyring. So once we have that information, what we can now do is there are two ways that we can send email via, actually there's a couple of different ways we can send email via Python. Internally, in the standard library of Python, there is an SMTP library, a package that we can use to send email. There's also in the standard library a utility package called email, which will help you set up specific things about the email. Like one of the things we've got to define for our email is a MIME type. What's going to be the actual content of our email? So in this example, I'm going to show a simple example, just setting a simple text message. So to do that, we can use we'll import from email the MIME type text so that we can create a MIME message. So to get started in our code, we're going to import the SMTP lib. And in my case, because I'm storing my password in that keyring, I'm going to import the keyring package. I'm then going to build variables to house the different pieces of the email. So your sender is going to be who you're going to put in the from field. And this may or may not match who you're logging on to the system with. Second, we're going to put the receivers. The receivers is going to be in a list or an array of who's going to receive the email. So in this case, I'm just sending an email to bobbuilder@mailinator.com. Again, if I needed to send to multiple email addresses, I would just put a comma after the first string, add the next email address until I added everything that I needed. We're then going to use our server which is going to be your SMTP server that you got from your network administrator. The port number is going to be the port that you need to connect to the SMTP server. And then we then can create the body of our MIME message. So what we're going to do is create a variable, and when we imported MIME text, it's a method that takes as an argument the body that you want as your email. Okay, then what we're going to need to do with the SMTP lib is we actually have to build the SMTP message. The SMTP message has a header, so our message is a dictionary, a hash. So we need to specify the key value combinations to build the header. So our subject is going to be whatever we wanted as our subject. Our from is going to be our sender variable. And our to, in this case, I'm just hard coding the to here. If you were passing in multiple receivers, we'd have to convert our list to a string to be part of the SMTP body. Because my SMTP server uses SSL, I'm going to make a call to a method off of SMTP lib called SMTP _ SSL. That goes out and just sets up the capability for us to use SSL or TLS, the transport layer security. I'm then going to use a with statement to create a variable server here, and connected to the SMTP lib is a method SMTP that takes two arguments, the server you want to connect to, comma, the port, and that'll create a server variable for us. That server variable then has a series of methods that we'll need to make a call to send our mail message. Because our mail server uses TLS, I have to call the start TLS method off of my server variable. I then need to log on to my email server. So connected to the server object, it has a method logon that takes a username, comma, password. Again, I could have hard-coded my password in here, but again, a stored password is a compromised password, so you'll want to try some way of protecting that password. In my case, I'm using the keyring package, and it has a method getPassword where you specify what type of user and what the user or the user's password that you want to retrieve from the keyring. Once we have that, we can then do server.sendMail, where we pass in the sender, who's it coming from, who's going to get it as receivers, and then we pass in the message. And then I usually like to print a message back if this was just a console application to let someone know that, yeah, this did happen successfully. So in this case, if I go out here and run my script, what I should get back is that my mail was sent successfully. And then what I can do is I have access to that email account here from Emailer or Mailinator, and here's the email message routing to that user. Okay. Some people don't like all of the parameters that we have to pass to set up the SMTP lib. So there are other packages out there that will allow you to send an email via Python. And one of the ones that I've used is Mail1. Mail1, thank you, Michael Casablanca. He created a library that has one method, a send method, to send an email message. So to send a mail message using Mail1, first thing we're going to do is a pip install. And again, where you would get that information is from pypi.org, which is a repository for Python packages, and we could just do a pip install mail1 to get the package installed on our system. Once the package is installed, again, I'm importing keyring because I don't want to hard code my password in, and then I'm going to import mail1, which is going to give us access to that single send method. I'm still going to build things the same way. So I need a variable for my SMTP server. I need to know what port number. I then need to know where the mail is going to come from. The two, again, is going to be an array or a list of everyone I want to receive this email message. My subject is going to be whatever I want my subject, and the body is obviously going to be the body of the email. Then I'm just going to use the mail one send method, and then I'm going to pass in the subject, text, which is going to be the body of the email, the recipient, who do I want the email to go to, the sender, where's the mail going to come from. I then going to pass in a parameter SMTP underscore host. This is going to be the IP address or the fully qualified domain name of your SMTP server. I then pass in the SMTP port number. And then if you need to authenticate, you need to pass in the username and the password. Again, the username may or may not be the same as the sender. Just depends on what your SMTP server supports. You may be able to log on as one user, but put in the from field a different username if you needed to. Again, you'll need to talk to your SMTP or your email administrator to figure out if that is possible. The last parameter is the password, which again, I'm going to use my keyring.getPassword command to read from the password. So now what I can do here is once that's set up, I can go out here, run my code, and give it a second here, processed with no error code. And then if I come out here to Mailinator, here we go. We see that the test message did come in. So as far as options for sending email, again, we can use the built-in SMTP library. This does take a little bit more work because we have to go out and build the actual SMTP message, or we could use something like Mail1, which is a package that we can get from pi.org, where, again, it gives us a single send method. Ultimately, in the background, it is using the SMTP lib, but we don't have to go in and build everything. The send method is going to manage everything that we need to get this accomplished. So, for more information on the SMTP lib or the two packages that I used, go out to docs.python.org/3/library/SMTP lib.html to get the documentation, or on pypi.org, so it's pypi.org /project/keyring, or pypi.org/project/mail1 to get information about the Mail1 package. Again, I've been Matthew First, showing you how to send an email message with Python. Thank you. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check back periodically because we are constantly putting up new recording weekly on Friday.